Okay, now that we have the PLC logic for the example bottle plant, now we need the animation itself. And to get that, we go ahead and touch the mouse icon at the top of the app. We select bottling plant, and then we have a description of how the bottling plant operates. And then at the bottom, we have a try it button that we touch. And that brings up the animation at the bottom of our app. And we have a blue button at the top right if we want to switch back and forth to a full screen PLC view or a half screen view that allows us to see the animation. All of the addresses in the example, the PLC example, matches the addresses on the animation, so that in fact our PLC will control the activities that goes on in the animation. Each rung has a title, and that title describes what that rung function does. Rung 1 is a start-stop control, and that's simply what it does. I will mention that the start button is normally open and that the stop button is normally closed. In rung 2, if we look at the output, we can see that this is the output that controls the fill conveyor. The fill conveyor, if we look at the animation, you can see has that same output, 02/00, and that controls where the bottles are going to be positioned for the various processes that take place to them. And so if we look at the logic, we can see that we are going to start or stop the output 0200 based on if it's a juice position, if it's in the capper position, or if the control is on or off. Or this last compare statement is used at the very end of the animation to stop the conveyor if more than 2 bottles has passed by one of the proximity switches. Rung 3, if we look at the animation, we can see that the encoder needs to have some configuration set up. And so on the animation, underneath the CTU2, that's up counter 2, there's some text that tells us that we need to use up counter 2 and an input from I3/02 for the encoder. And that's what we have here in rung 3, is setting up that encoder. So this is very useful information to know. The next thing we have is the reset for the encoder. We want our counter to be reset every time a bottle passes through the proc switch 1, which is input 102. So we have 102 that's going to go ahead and energize this reset output that's associated with counter 2 accumulator. Then rung 5, this identifies what bottle is currently on the conveyor. The juice bottles have a black label, and therefore the black sensor will come true if a juice bottle goes by, and then if a tea bottle goes by, there's no action done by the black sensor. Rung 6, this positions the juice bottle to be filled, and so we have a compare statement that's looking at the accumulator of C2, and when it reaches a certain number, maybe 28, and we know it's a juice bottle, then we want to go ahead and allow the juice position output to be true. Output on rung 7, this is where we control the juice valve, and we have the logic, appropriate logic to allow the valve to be on or off. Rung 8 is configuring the flow meter for the juice valve. And if we look at the animation, it'll tell us that we need to use input I3/00 into the counter 0 for the flow meter to work properly. Line 9 has a timer to allow settling time, so that as the juice goes into the bottle, that the conveyor doesn't move until the juice has completely settled into the bottle. And this prevents juice spilling over by starting the conveyor prematurely when the juice is still flowing from the valve. There's one more thing I want to go ahead and show you. I want to show you a quick demonstration of this example working with the animation. So I put it in the run. I go ahead and hit the start button. You can either get a juice bottle or tea bottle randomly. We happen to get a juice bottle here. It's being filled and it's moving on. We don't have enough logic for the capper to work. It's now moving to the shipping conveyor. It burst into pieces because the bottle wasn't complete. The bottle has to be filled to the top, and it needs to have a cap on it and go into the proper position on the shipping tray for it to successfully come down to the shipping conveyor without breaking. Well, if you have any questions concerning this animation or want additional videos, feel free to leave me a message, and if I have enough interest and comments, I'll make a follow-up video. Thank you.